Want to stay up to date with everything that's happening on the show? Or do you have a story that you'd like to submit for one of our Listener Stories episodes? You can get in touch with the show via the website at www.hauntedukpodcast.com, on Instagram at hauntedukpodcast, on X at hauntedukpod, or you can email us at contactus@hauntedukpodcast.com. We're also on Facebook and TikTok. And if you want to support the show, you can do it via either Patreon or Ko-fi. Both platforms have exactly the same content, but work in slightly different ways. One of the advantages of Patreon is its sleek user interface, but if you want to avoid those pesky additional charges that Apple, Google, and Patreon apply to your subscription, then why not give Ko-fi a try? Simply open a browser window and type ko-fi/Haunted UK Podcast, and you'll soon find us. Whichever platform you choose, we're sure you'll enjoy the bonus content. Thanks for listening, and enjoy the episode. This is the Haunted UK Podcast's Short Haunts. Welcome, dear listeners, to our series of short haunts. A shot of scary, just for you. So grab a hot chocolate, maybe a tea, or maybe something stronger, because this is Haunted UK Podcast's Short Haunts, Papa and the Watch. Losing someone close to you can be a very traumatic experience. It's true to say that as humans, we tend to cope with grief in many different ways. Some will remain happy, content that their lives with that person were as full as possible, whilst others will cry and become sad at the sight of something reminding them of the person they've lost. We're all different. As we touched on in detail in episode 1 of season 5, Calls from Beyond, most of us crave for the possibility of one last moment with our deceased loved ones. But this is an unfortunate impossibility. But what if contact could be made via another route? Again, in Calls from Beyond, we heard some very convincing cases of people receiving phone calls from those who had passed on. The mechanics and understanding behind this incredibly rare and strange phenomena are still as elusive as the proposed existence of ghosts themselves. Science cannot explain them, choosing instead to push it to the boundaries of pseudoscience, something that is seen as flawed in its research and conclusions. But how do you research something such as the paranormal? The Higgs boson particle was little more than science fiction for decades, until it was discovered over the space of 2 years, between 2011 and 2013, which was only down to the building of the Large Hadron Collider, which made its discovery possible. So, why couldn't it be the same for the paranormal? Has science only failed to explain it because we don't yet have the tools to make those discoveries? The short haunt you're about to hear deals with the strange, but sometimes incredibly comforting phenomenon of our loved ones making contact, but not by means of a stage psychic, seance, or an Ouija board. Martin's relationship with his beloved grandfather, or Papa, as he was affectionately known, was extremely deep and loving. They had an incredibly close bond, so when the tragic moment of his passing finally came, Martin was consumed with grief. He held hope that someday his grandfather would find a way to make contact. We'll hand this over to Martin, who will relate the story from here. Hi Steve. I've been an avid listener from day one to the show, and I've repeated many episodes because it's been a few years now. To be abundantly honest, I've tried other ghost podcasts, but the experience is never the same. Just my genuine perception of the show. Thank you for making my long journeys to work much more pleasurable. I have a number of events which took place when my grandfather passed away in 1997. I was 12 years old and very close to Papa. I had 7 other cousins, but he was especially close to my sister and I, possibly because my mum was his only daughter, but also because my sister is severely autistic. He was like a second dad to us. I used to visit him and my granny most days, and we knew that he had lung cancer, although he didn't realize, or didn't really want to admit it, that he was dying. On the 14th of February 1997, Papa, which incidentally is the Scottish equivalent of Grandad, unfortunately passed away in hospital on a Saturday evening. I'll never forget the surreal emotion of losing a loved one for the very first time. My family are a traditional Irish Catholic family, so we went back to my granny's house to say prayers and to be together. I'm 42 now, but will never forget that night. My eldest uncle drove me home, gave me a little talk and wished me a good evening. I went home. This would have been circa 12:30 a.m. My mum's partner at the time presented me with my favourite Chinese takeaway dish, sweet and sour chicken. He and my mum said they were going to bed and told me that I should enjoy my meal, but warned me not to stay up too late or to be without sleep. I sat alone in the living room, closed my eyes, and began to imagine my poor Papa lying in one of those hospital beds with the metal lids on them, and instantly felt sorry for him. This was a foreign concept to me, being at such a young age. The next thing I knew, it was like I'd been put into a sleep-induced coma. My eyes were closed, or I'd been taken out of the immediate situation and placed into a very dark room with Papa. I saw him clear as day, looking fantastic, wearing a 3-piece suit with a pocket watch. He said something to me that I'll never forget, and even to this day, I get emotional just thinking about it. Papa said, "Look, son, don't worry about me. Just get a good night's sleep and see your granny tomorrow." With that, I was instantly back in the room. I didn't feel apprehensive or scared. Shocked, yes, but more than anything, I felt comforted. A few days later, my mum told me that the childminder who looked after my autistic sister was questioning the timing of when my Papa passed away. Curious this question was being asked, my mum told the childminder the approximate time. I can't remember the actual time, but let's say that it was 9 p.m. After hearing this, the childminder informed my mum that was the exact same time when my sister lifted her head and said, "Bye, Papa." There was no shock at all. We simply appreciated the comfort and felt at peace. Aside from the usual dreams, smells and sensations which I understand most bereaved people experience, there's one further significant incident that happened after Papa's departure. About 6 weeks later, it was my birthday. I went straight from church to see my granny. She and my mum were there, and my mum gave me the watch that she'd given to Papa for his retirement. Now, the watch didn't have any particular financial value, but the sentimentality of it surpassed any monetary value it may have held, and I was incredibly happy and honoured to have been given such a beautiful item to remember Papa by. I took the watch home and went to my bedroom. Whilst sitting there looking at it, I began to cry. because I was so upset about losing such an amazing man. I remember pulling the pin out of the watch to save the battery. After all, it was a keepsake. I looked at the watch, sobbed and said, "Papa, I love you and I miss you. If you can hear me, please give me a sign." I swear on my son's life, and without any word of a lie, the watch's minute hand bounced a minute ahead, with no pin pushed in. How strange that it would do that in that specific significant moment. It's been a pleasure to share my honest story with you, Steve. All my very best, Martin. And this is where this short haunt comes to an end. As with all of these episodes, many questions are left unanswered. Without doubt, there are those out there who will continue to hunt for those elusive answers, and that's a good thing. Were the events in Martin's story caused by his incredible yearning for that one last moment with his papa? Was the energy of grief so strong that it managed to cross the veil and make contact? In a sense, could this be an example of a reverse type of stone tape theory, where the living can hold such powerful memories that when a spirit is close, it can trigger events? It's certainly something to think about, but so is the nature of how the spirit of Martin's grandfather seemed to be able to display different elements of the paranormal, from appearing in his dreams to deliver a message to moving the hand of his watch. Which brings us to another possibility we must consider. Some psychics can allegedly contact the dead by means of touching or holding an object which was of sentimental value to that person. Could this have been happening to Martin as he held the watch? Does Martin possess a power, which he was totally unaware of, to be able to pick up on these signals, which the ones who have passed can transmit? Who knows? But as we said at the start of this episode, maybe one day, science will finally make the breakthrough that will allow us to gain a better understanding of these fascinating mysteries. Until then, I recommend you keep your senses on high alert, because unbeknownst to you, you may possess a gift similar to Martin's, and if you do, the next story to feature as a short haunt could be yours.